Hello Booktube. This is my Booktube Newbie Tag. Sorry about the location. I hope it's not too windy and my voice can be heard. But yeah, I'm not anywhere near my house right now, and I didn't want to postpone this anymore because I've already posted some videos, and I've not only been procrastinating this tag, but I also didn't want to do it because I just didn't think that it would make any sense to make a tag about me being a new booktuber when I didn't have any subscribers or anything. But then I was like this morning, I think this morning or yesterday or something, I was watching videos from some of my all-time favorite booktubers, and I like one of their newbie tags came up, and then I saw another one, and then I saw another one, and then I saw some of the newest ones that have come up in YouTube, and it's amazing to see how many people is joining Booktube, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a thing I am supposed to do, so let's do it. And yeah, so I'm just gonna go have a paper here with like the questions written down, so I'm just gonna get at it. Also, I'll link in the description some of the other Booktube newbie tags, the older ones and the new ones that I liked. So yeah, the first question is, why did you start this channel? And this is basically the reason why I didn't want to do the Booktube newbie tag in the first place, is that my reason to start a channel was quite self-centered, in the sense that like I just wanted to start a channel in order to like improve my communicational skills. In that sense, I didn't have any pretensions of like interacting with anyone at first, although of course I knew that that was a possibility. But basically I just wanted to improve my argumentative skills and my English in general. Then I realized that that was not enough. That was not enough for me to keep making videos. It didn't just didn't feel appealing at all. And then I discovered this community, and I was like, yeah, this sounds like something that I would like to take part on. So the real reason why I kept my Booktube channel was that I like to be part of the Booktube discussion, especially from a specific part of Booktube that seems to me incredibly interesting, and that's my answer to question number one. Question number two is, what are some of the fun and unique things that you can bring to Booktube? And I didn't know at first what to answer. I thought of answering something that I tend to answer when someone tells me in what way, why do I think that I am different, and I generally say because my teachers were different. But I don't know if you catch the reference there, but it's from a really good movie, Instinct, and Anthony Hopkins is the main actor. But that doesn't work, doesn't apply to Booktube, especially again to this corner of Booktube, because it's just full of interesting people with very particular personalities, and you could not box in or divide in stereotypes, in Booktube stereotypes, when it comes to what they offer. So in that sense, I don't think I am any different, except that I have less experience reading and talking about what I read, especially in English. So that brings me to the second answer that I could think of, which I thought of, which is basically I'm very visceral with what I think, and I have very strong opinions, which is also not uncommon. But not only do I have very strong opinions, I am not afraid to say them. I don't care about being ostracized from any society. I've exiled myself from any of the social norms and, let's say, the institutions in general a while ago. In that sense, I live in exile, and I've been living in exile for 10 years. So I think that might be interesting in the sense that like I don't owe anything to anyone, and I don't fear any repercussions to whatever I say about a book. I try not to be pretentious, and I don't care at all when someone pretentious criticizes me for basically speaking, like saying something that is entirely wrong. I love knowing that I'm wrong and learning, but let's say I don't know how to frame this, but I'm just not afraid of saying what I think, and I am also happy to be wrong and to realize it. That might be something, I don't know, I don't think that's uncommon in Booktube, so I don't know really, like, maybe I don't have anything unique to offer. Maybe this beach, this is a really nice place. I'm here just to take things, you know, I'm not offering anything, just this. The third question is, what are you most excited about? And that would be interacting, engaging with other booktubers and people in general, especially with those that have read more, that read more than I do, and better, especially those that read better than I read. That's yeah, both because of their own, like, just meeting the people in general that does that, and also just to learn. I like just to learn in what way am I at fault when it comes to reading, or what books am I missing, or what am I missing some of the books I think I have understood, but also seeing other minds at work and in interaction with each other. So that's definitely there. The next question is why you love reading. I mean, I didn't love reading always. I'm not one of those people that, like, they just love reading, right? My coming into reading was actually quite rational, because reading, like, being forced to read didn't work with me at all. I was an anti-reader for a long time, and reading for entertainment generally doesn't work either, because I like many other things that are very entertaining. Reading has a different quality that for me is far more appealing, and is the reason why I dedicate more time to reading than I do virtually to anything else at this moment. The way I can explain why I like reading is, I tend to say this, there's two kinds of people. Obviously there's no two kinds of people. Whenever a sentence starts like that, that's wrong. But this is the way this is a way for me to frame what I'm referring to when I say I like reading. There's two kinds of people. There's people that looks at the sky and they want to see clouds, and when they look at the clouds they feel comforted by their, they feel like they're covered in it. They feel like they give them protection, right? So you look at the sky and you wanna see clouds, and you enjoy looking at a cloudy sky. And then there's people that want a cloudless sky, because looking at the sky gives them, if there is clouds, gives them claustrophobia. I am of the second kind of person. The world is way too small and my mind is far too narrow. And books are one of the best ways in which I can learn to expand my mind and see and see beyond the horizons of the world that was given to me a priori. So I guess the answer is that reading expands my horizons. That's the reason why I love reading. That's the main reason why I love reading. And everything else is secondary. There are other reasons, but that is it. Sorry for the metaphor. I think I could have chosen something else, but this one in my mind makes a lot of sense. It's sort of like bringing it out what is a bit more complicated. Okay, next question. What book or book series got you into reading? There's a quick answer first, which is I got myself into reading. There is not a book that got me into reading, because I did not like reading. I read many books before getting into reading, because I was forced to read them. My parents would pay me for reading, like John Seagull or something like that from Richard Bach was one of the books that my father paid me for reading. Also, my mother offered me money as a kid to read The Little Prince, and I also it's the books that I read out of my own will that got me into reading. But the reason why they got me into reading was because I had a will to read them. Because the books that my parents made me read or the school made me read are also great books. It's not that they didn't have the capacity of making me read, it was the method that didn't work. So some of the first books I enjoyed because I read out of my own will are, I'm gonna say them chronologically, and there is like 4 I remember very clearly, and I remember very clearly my reactions and being so surprised. They all happened at around the time when I was playing with my sister in the house and we broke the TV, and I had a huge personality shift there because basically I went from watching reality shows as a, I don't know, 13-year-old to reading because I had nothing else to do. And some of the books that I remember from that time are, the first one is Druids by Morgan Llewellyn or something like that. I don't understand my own calligraphy. But yeah, Druids by Morgan Llewellyn or something like that. And that's an amazing book, and it's not only an amazing book, I wanted to read it because both of my parents, it's like a time of their life was marked by that book. It went from my father's hands to my mother's hands. My mother's cosmology was completely influenced by reading this book. And for that reason I was curious to read it, and I picked it up and I read it, and it was a very, I loved that book, and it introduced me to many new ideas. As I said, I was probably 13 by then, something like that. I had read books before, but this is probably the first book I remember reading in that way, you know, with the first book that gave me that feeling. Okay, yeah, the second book is All Creatures, Great and Small by James Herriot. Yeah, I mean, after reading The Druid, I just wanted to keep reading. So I went to a second-hand bookstore that it's in Vigo, North Spain. It's an amazing, basically, yeah, it was my place to go when I was living there for any books I wanted, and I would just navigate through it. Now seeing the power and the value of books, that place looked like a desert island where I would be able to find incredible treasures. So I very soon it became my second house, and I went there, and although I'll say it became my second house because I started valuing books, not because I started reading a lot. At this age I wasn't reading a lot. These are pretty much all the books I read until I was 18, without counting poetry, which I did read a lot of poetry. And I am not talking about poetry here, I don't know why. Completely forgot to introduce the poetry books, but that's because it's a completely different facet that I have. But yeah, let's stop rambling. And yeah, so it's All Creatures, Great and Small by James Herriot. This is also a book that I still consider it's a really good book. It's not just the time when I read it introduced me to, I don't know, just thinking about animals in general. It didn't introduce me about that at all. That's completely wrong. I grew up with animals. But I don't know, it was just a very different life and a very different pace to my own pace of living. It was just a completely different read. I think, yeah, I don't know. I have very, very good memories of reading that. The third, it's The Magus by John Fowles. This is a good book all the way to the end, or that's what I think. And then it has a horrible ending, and for that reason, a horrible ending in the sense that it's just badly done. And for that reason, I think it's one of the books that introduced me into writing, because I think it's the first time that I looked at a book and I said, this could have been done better. I could have written a better ending. That was my feeling as a teenager, and I still think so. I might do it someday if I reread the book. But there's so many other books to read that I haven't read that I don't know if I will ever do that. However, yeah, that book not only introduced me into reading but also into writing, I'd say partially. And lastly is Illusions by Richard Bach. Yeah, that book probably was my gateway to philosophy. It's full of interesting reflections, especially for a teenager. I don't think they are so revealing to someone who dedicates time to reflecting a few years after that. But it definitely was a gateway for me to philosophy, to reflection, to just thinking about many ethical and theological subjects, among others. And that is my answer to what books or series got you into reading. The next question is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? And I guess the main question I would ask my favorite booktubers is, do you have an hour to spare? Do you have an hour? Can I maybe video call you and just like ask you 1,000 questions? I think that is what I would ask any of my favorite booktubers. Alright, so let's go to the other page. There we are. So, next question. What challenges do you think you will find starting a Booktube channel? What challenge do you think starting a Booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? I don't think this is very challenging, especially the way I'm doing it, which is the easy way. But I'd say probably challenges. I mean, obviously getting people to hear me, because otherwise, if this is just gonna be solipsism, if I'm just gonna be talking to myself, I might as well not do it. So getting a few more subscribers, that would be good.